Daniel Whitaker had already packed 3 shelves when a small yellow card slipped from behind an old wooden drawer. It had one customer's name on it, a date from 37 years earlier, and one short sentence, written in his father's handwriting. Daniel read it twice, then he slowly sat down. If stories about quiet kindness mean something to you, stay with me for this one. Daniel Whitaker was 59 years old, and he had decided it was time to sell the family hardware store. Whitaker Hardware had stood on the same corner of a small American town for more than half a century. Daniel's grandfather had opened it, his father, Henry, had run it for most of Daniel's childhood, and Daniel himself had spent nearly 30 years behind the same worn counter. He knew the store by heart. He knew which floorboard squeaked near the paint section. He knew which drawer stuck in humid weather. He even knew where his father used to hide the good pencils. But knowing the store that well did not make life easier. Business had changed, some longtime customers had moved away. Others had grown older, the building needed repairs. The roof had started leaking, the heat was unreliable. And Daniel was tired. Tired of long days, tired of bills, tired of wondering if next month would be any better than the last one. So when a buyer made him a fair offer for the building, Daniel listened. There was no big family fight, no one forced him. He simply looked at the numbers, and he thought, maybe it was time. The sale agreement was already sitting on the counter. All he had to do was sign it. But before that could happen, he had to clean out the back storage areas, places that had barely been touched since his father ran the store. That was when he found the first note. The card had been hidden behind a drawer filled with old brass hinges. Across the top, it said, Elaine Parker. Daniel recognized the name right away. Mrs. Parker had lived 3 streets away when he was a boy. She had raised 3 children, and because her family had only one car, she walked almost everywhere. Under her name, Henry had written, porch step loose again. Take screws over Friday, don't charge for the small box. She'll argue, so tell her they were already opened. Daniel smiled. That sounded exactly like his father. Henry Whitaker was not the kind of man who talked a lot about kindness, he just noticed things. Daniel pulled the drawer out farther, another card fell, then another, and behind the drawer, he found an old wooden recipe box. It was filled with handwritten notes. Packed tight, there were hundreds of them, some were 20 years old, some were 30. Few went back more than 40 years. They were not sales records, they were records of people. One note: Frank Miller. Starting night classes. Put aside the used tool belt if it comes in. Another said, Mrs. Lawson, husband away this week. Check that she knows how to shut off the outside water before freeze. Another read, Tom Reed, first job Monday. Give him the better hammer, charge him for the cheaper one, and one made Daniel laugh softly. Edna Pierce, screen door latch. She can install it herself. Don't insult her by offering unless she asks. Daniel could picture Edna instantly, proud, sharp, capable. And his father had remembered that too. Not just what people bought, but who they were, what they were carrying, and how they wanted to be treated. Daniel kept reading, then, near the bottom of the box, he found one card that made him stop cold. It said, Martha Ellis. Martha was still alive, she still came into the store every few weeks. Under her name, Henry had written, Furnace Fuse, January, then below that. Bill lost work again, she has 2 children at home, if she asks the price say the package was damaged and can't be sold anyway. Daniel stared at the card, he remembered that winter, not clearly. He had been a teenager then. He remembered snow piled outside the shop. He remembered his father carrying boxes to people's cars. But he had never known about Martha. The next morning, Martha Ellis came into the store. She was 73 now. She only needed 2 picture hooks and a small packet of wall anchors. Daniel got them for her. Then he said, quietly, Martha, can I show you something? He placed the old card on the counter. She leaned in closer. For a few seconds, she said nothing. She lifted a hand to her mouth. That's Henry's writing, she whispered. Daniel nodded. I found a whole box of these. Martha picked up the card carefully. When she read the line about the furnace fuse, her eyes filled with tears. I remember that day, she said. Daniel waited. She ran her finger along the edge of the card. My husband had been between jobs for a few weeks, she said. We were counting every dollar. She gave a small, sad smile. Your father gave me that fuse and said the package was torn. Daniel looked down at the note. He wrote that you would ask the price. Martha let out a soft laugh. Oh, I did. I argued with him for 5 minutes. Daniel smiled too. Then Martha said something he did not expect. I knew he was helping me. Daniel looked up. You knew? Not that day, she said, but later I understood. She looked around the old store. Then she said the words Daniel would keep thinking about long after she left. Your father knew the difference between helping someone, making them feel helpless. Daniel stood there in silence because that was it. That was exactly it. That evening, instead of packing more shelves, Daniel opened another box, then another. He found old ledgers filled with more notes. Some were written by his grandfather, most were written by his father, and a few, to his surprise, had been written by Daniel himself. One said, "Save the red toolbox for Carlos. His daughter starts trade school next month." Another said, "Call Mrs. Dean when the smaller cabinet handles arrive. Her hands have trouble with the round ones." Daniels stared at his own handwriting. He had forgotten writing those notes. And for the first time in months, the store no longer felt like a tired old business. It felt like a place full of human memory. That night, Daniel did not tear up the sale agreement. He did not make some dramatic promise. He knew better than that. He knew feelings alone would not pay the bills. So the next morning, he called the buyer, and he asked for 30 more days before making a final decision. Then he called his accountant, because for the first time, Daniel stopped asking one question. He stopped asking, "Should I sell?" And he started asking, "What would have to change for me to stay?" Over the next few weeks, the answer became clearer. The store did not have to stay exactly the same. Daniel reduced some inventory that had not moved in years. He shortened the store hours on 2 quiet weekdays. He cleared out an unused back office and rented it to a local bookkeeper. And near the front counter, he created a small repair bench, a place where people could bring simple household items, ask basic questions, and get help before buying replacement parts. Then Daniel did something even more meaningful. He placed one of his father's old wooden boxes beside the register. On the front, he taped a small handwritten sign. "Things worth remembering." He began adding notes, not private details, not gossip, just small things that help people feel seen. "Mr. Palmer prefers the lightweight garden hose. Save 2 cabinet pulls for Anita. Ask George how his grandson's apprenticeship is going." Customers noticed, and little by little, they started sharing stories. A retired carpenter remembered Henry staying 10 minutes after closing to help him choose tools for his first job. A woman remembered Daniel's grandfather, showing her how to fix a cabinet hinge when she had just bought her first home. A former student said Henry had once sold him a used toolbox for almost nothing when he started a summer construction job. None of those memories were grand. That was the surprising part. No one remembered a huge heroic act. They remembered being noticed. By the end of the month, Daniel had not found a miracle solution. The old hardware store was not suddenly making a fortune. But he had made enough practical changes to give it another year. So he declined the offer, not forever, not with a dramatic speech. He simply chose not to end it yet. Months later, Whitaker hardware still had its squeaky floorboard, the drawers still stuck in humid weather. And Daniel still grumbled whenever the heater made a strange noise. But beside the register sat that wooden box. Old notes on one side, new notes on the other. And every few days, Daniel added another card. One afternoon a 16-year-old boy came in looking for his first set of basic tools. He counted the money in his wallet twice. Daniel helped him choose carefully. The boy left. Daniel opened the box. He took out one of his father's good pencils, and on a fresh card he wrote, "Evan Brooks, first summer job." Daniel paused, then he added one more line. "Next time he comes in, ask how it's going." He looked at the card for a moment, then he smiled. Sometimes, the things that keep a place alive are not the things sitting on its shelves. They are the small ways people remember one another. If this story stayed with you, comment. Kindness lives here. And if someone once did something small for you that you never forgot, share that memory too. Because someone reading your comment may need that reminder today. That quiet kindness lasts longer than we think.